Hello, Silver Lining Gang. Hope you are well. It's Andy Reid here, host of the show, and we've got a familiar face. This is the first time we've got a repeat offender on the show. Hey, the first two-time guest, Charlotte. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you.
Excellent.
You're drinking
Good.
coffee, and we were just talking about it's time for a wine here in Australia. Friday afternoon, 4:30. But
Oh, no, not quite there yet. Not quite there yet. Although, because obviously with it being Anzac Day Eve, I've got an upcoming poker tournament in which everybody else is going to be hammered drunk, and I'm going to be on these. So
coffees.
Well, I'm hoping I might actually win a game. You never know. If I just stay the course and just wait until they're drunk enough, then I might just win just by proxy. It'd be like a Steve Bradbury-esque sort of just coming from the back.
I think so, but then at the same time, right, somehow it becomes socially acceptable to consume alcohol before 12 o'clock if you put bubbles in it. Champagne breakfast, it's okay.
You are not the first person to have recommended champagne to me because of the time zone, actually. You're not the first. I doubt you'll be the last either.
I was going to say, I don't think I'll be the last either.
No. Anyway, gang, so for those of you that don't know who Charlotte is, she is the GM of Stockdale & Lego, which is a large franchise network of real estate offices in Victoria. She is also mother of two, stepmom of two, dog, what else?
A renovation.
Yep.
That's
one
the
of them.
worst of all.
And you know, she's safe to say she's going through all the pressures and then some of not just her own stuff, but that of lots and lots of business owners as well. Because of the nature of who she is, she takes on their burdens, quite significantly. And there's only going to be a handful of people that will be able to handle that type of pressure. Charlotte is definitely one. And we were rudely interrupted by technology a few days ago. So we had to have her back on because we were just about to get into the nitty gritty of how on earth she is managing to keep a smile on her face, stay as energetic as she is, and all the rest of it, and not end up at the bottom end of a vodka bottle too often.
I was going to say it's probably gin, but yes, I try not to.
How's everything going? How's your week?
Week was really good, actually. I was listening to a fantastic guy in real estate, a guy called Phil Harris, who I'm sure you're familiar with in South Australia. And I picked up a couple of really great things which I've tried to implement for myself this week. And one of those was, having your normal hard KPIs, but also having soft KPIs. So what am I doing for myself to further myself? So education-wise, what am I learning? What do I want to upskill on? Which has been a nice relief, I think. This week it's been, for me, a bit more of a push and a head shift from, I think we're in Australia, and I don't want to make any predictions because I'm not a medical person and I'm not a politician and I'm not an economist. So this is just my little headspace. I feel as though that initial fear has kind of passed. We're all used to it. We had a couple of things in Victoria taken away from us and then given back. And I feel like there's a lot more clarity out there, which is taking a lot of people's fears away. And I said today, we had a meeting with our directors, and I said, I feel as though we're in a position now where we will continue to be reactive, which is unfortunately part and parcel of what we're dealing with. But I feel like we can now move into a little bit more, not back to what it was, but back to the ability to be more proactive. And I think by being proactive, you feel like you're back on top of things. So it's finding that silver lining. And Phil Harris was saying it's at some point you've got to acknowledge that the glass is half full. It's not half empty. There is still stuff happening. And I think the mind shift has been quite big this week for me. And I think for a lot of people as well, that, making the choice to actually look at the other side of it and what do you want to be when you come out of it? Who do you want to be? Do you want to be the best version of yourself? And as we talked about last week, this is kind of a reset. but I think I'm implementing that for myself as well as telling everyone to do it. I'm kind of practicing a little bit more of what I preach, I think.
I think that last bit's probably the most relevant part of what you just said. You know, especially when you're in leadership positions and what have you, you do your best to, you know, like you said, practice what you preach, and you know, and not just talk a good game, but sort of play the game well as well. And it's easier said than done when, you know, you have got so much running around, and your brain and your mind and your energy is taken up with trying to think for everybody else, that you can have that concern of neglecting yourself. I think one thing that this scenario has absolutely forced us all to do, it's forced us to spend more time with ourselves. And I think that, you know, for those that are out there that are really sort of hitting the fan, and then, you know, they're really struggling with the external stuff, well, maybe it's because, you know, maybe the reason why you may be being uncomfortable, or you're feeling uncomfortable, is because you're getting made to actually reflect on where you're at, who you are, what you're doing, all that sort of stuff. And I think that's not a bad thing. I think it's probably something that a lot of people have been avoiding, right?
And I think, you know, it's personal. Like, as you said, it's not, you know, it's down to simple things, right? So I think you just kind of get into a groove of, this is what life is, this is what my income is, this is what we're going to do. And suddenly you go, well, if that was taken away, what does our reality look like? And so, you know, my husband and I sat down and went, okay, so let's actually, for the first time, because we're both very busy, we've got young children, we're running around like, you know, chickens with their head cut off 98% of the time. And dinner is always on the fly, let's get it in. And we don't actually spend the time to sit down and cook dinner, which is something we enjoy to do, you know, on the weekends. But we've now got that capacity, you know, have a bit of cheese and some crackers and plan out what we're going to eat, not worry about going to the supermarket every day, and spending a little bit more time doing the important stuff. Like, I was lying on the floor playing horses with my daughter last night, and this morning she ran in and she goes, can we please play horses, Mama? Please. And I was like, well, I've just got to wake up first. But I think so often we forget those little things that, you know, with our children, I try very hard to be really present with my kids when I'm at home. But I think because of the nature of my job, I am in the car a lot. I'm out of home a lot. And when I'm home, I can be working, you know, all day, every day, 7 days a week. Which I've been doing for the last 5 weeks. But this last week, I feel like I've kind of gone, okay, I'm actually going to sit down and I'm going to have dinner with my kids. And it's taking them 5 hours to eat that last pea on the plate, but I'm going to sit here. I'm going to have a little bit more patience with that. But yeah, just taking the time, because, you know, I read this great thing the other day on Facebook about parenting for parents particularly. And it was, you know, it was a reflection of grandkids talking to their grandparents in 80 years' time, saying, oh, you were part of, speaking of kids, one's trying to break into the room at the moment. That's why we have locks on the doors. It was, you are trying to, as a grandparent, tell me about this. You lived through this. We're learning about it at school, this whole pandemic that came out and wiped it out. That would have been awful, all that kind of stuff. And it's the grandparents saying, actually, that wasn't my recollection, because I had more time with my children, with my parents. We played cars, we built fires, we toasted marshmallows, you know, we had breakfast together. And it's about the perception. I think if you're a parent, your anxiety shouldn't be their anxiety. I'm so sorry about the children breaking in. 1 second.
This is what life is actually like, guys. For all of those people that watch live streams or shows or interviews or whatever, this is why I like doing it live. Bernard Desmond, he had his thunder stolen by the kids crashing into the end of the interview and completely stealing the spotlight, justifiably so. They're amazing kids. Bernard, God knows, you know, seriously, man, you've done extremely well. And this is exactly why this show is live, because we need to make sure that people are aware that life is still happening. Life is still going on. 100%. No, look, seriously, this is exactly why I did the show. I had Bernard Desmond, a mortgage broker, on yesterday, and his kids came crashing in and completely stole his thunder. So and that's exactly why this is live. This is one of the reasons why I wanted it to be live. I'm over in the UK, and that's no one else's fault. Everyone else's world is still turning, so why would I stop? So I love it.
My daughter wanted a treat. I'm sorry.
Which kid?
Alessia, the 4-year-old.
Right.
And then the 1-year-old toddles on and follows and goes, Mum, chocolate. So I just calmed them. My husband's building a seat out the back, so I've just said, can you just...
Yeah, look, and that's it. Our two kids are very, very similar age difference to your two, and it's so funny how little bloody mini me just runs around and copies everything all the time.
Well, one starts banging on the door, and then the other one's next, and we've got glass doors over there, and then the other one, you can see the other one start banging to replicate it.
Yeah.
Hence why the noise kind of overtook my voice, I think, a little bit. So sorry.
No problem at all. Look, I've had to travel halfway across the world to stop the kids from interrupting my shows. So, it's called commitment, Charlotte. It's called commitment. Anyway, yeah. Sorry. No, all good. So, back to what we were talking about. We were saying how the need for self-reflection, and I said this to Mark, the lad who came on the show the other day, to share his his crazy story about addiction and so on and so forth. And I was talking about the film Cool Runnings, how the coach said to Ben Bannock, about gold medals, because he cheated back in the day, and he said, look, if you're no good with them, then you're certainly going to be no good without them. And this is exactly the scenario that we're talking about right now. Easy to be distracted in a very fast-paced, crazy world, but when the world isn't so fast and loud and crazy, it's interesting what people are left with.
Yeah, and I think, we talked a little bit last time as well about being kind to yourself through all of this as well. Like, I think for me, I have really high expectations of myself, always have. And I know that I operate at a pretty high pace, pretty high intensity. And, I'm kind of go. What's next? I've got to finish this and then I can move on to the next thing. I want to fix things. I'm a solutions person. And so I want a solution to things, and I want to work through that, and I want to fix it, and I want to do it in a time frame that's fair on me. And the one thing that that I think you have to do when you work from home is adjust those expectations. So in my previous life, I spent a lot of time working from home. So I think I'm a little bit more adjusted to it than a lot of people who have never done it before. I've worked out that you've got to allow yourself those breaks, and particularly if you're a parent as well, you've got to kind of do your work and then give them some love so that they don't do what they just did then. But it's just about having that balance. And if something doesn't go to plan, it's okay. It's not, no one's going to judge you for it. We're all in the same situation. And I think it's it's bringing out a lot more honesty in people. And, we've become such a world of social media. Here's my reality. I turn up to work and my hair's perfect and I drive a beautiful, whatever car. And, or I think this is making this perfect, like, whenever I put up a photo of my kids that look cute, people go, oh, that's cute. But the ones where the kids are screaming, or your house is an absolute bomb site, or you haven't finished a renovation, or you haven't done something properly, you seem to get a lot of people going, yeah, cool, you're actually a person. And I think this experience is bringing out the human element of so many of us that I'm hoping will change expectations. When I started in this industry, all the social media stuff wasn't there. It wasn't really mobile phones. You called the office, they would expect a call back within a day, maybe 2. And now it's an answer in 5 seconds. They want a phone call. They want to know what's going on. They're going to email you. And I think our expectation on people has just escalated because technology platforms there to support it, that I think we've all come to expect it. Like, you know, you call someone up and I'm really guilty of it. It'll ring 3 times. I'm like, they'll call back. I don't hear it out. I don't then wait for the answering machine. Hi, it's Charlotte. I'm like, well, you've seen my name and call me back when you're ready. Because I'm very immediacy. Like, I'm all about immediacy. I want it now. So I don't know. I think that there's a lot that will come out of that in terms of the human element, in terms of our colleagues, in terms of the people that we work with. We're suddenly seeing people in their home space, with their families, with their children, with their partners. I think we're learning about people as people, and our clients are learning about us as people, and particularly for long-term relationships, you know, in the real estate space for property managers. I hope that what comes out of this is the landlords look at those property managers and go, hey, you know what? I've seen you in your home. I've heard your children screaming in the background. You might be homeschooling. You know, you might be living alone and struggling because you're on whatever it might be. But I'm hoping that it brings that relationship closer together. And we not only are kind to ourselves, but we're kind to other people a little bit more than I think what we've kind of become, if that makes sense. I don't think it's intentional a lot of the time, but I think it's just, oh, well, if you're not going to answer me now, don't worry about it, as opposed to, no worries, get back to me when you can.
What do you think would need to happen though, for that to actually embed in? Because I'm already seeing just little elements of classic mentalities coming back in, like just tiny little flickers, because the dust is settling, right? Everybody has got used to this new normal. So I'm seeing a tiny little bit of it. What do we need to do as a unit? And I'm talking like, real estate unit or society unit or what have you. What do you think needs to happen in order to make that hope exist? Because you're look, we've talked about this off air, about how, if this is where, especially the real estate industry, if this is where it's going to sit moving forward, then, that is a game, that is a platform that I personally could see myself plugging back into, because it's a much more human environment. It's not about the transaction as much as the care for the human of that the transaction is for, and the priority is being set accordingly. Human first, transaction second, outcome. So what do you think needs to happen?
I think we can all only control what we do, which is the first thing. But I'm a big believer in pay it forward. And I think if we continue to pay it forward and everyone does the same, I mean, look, it's up to the individual. I think there will be an element where we get back to, okay, cool. So, I expect a phone call straight back. I expect that that's going to come regardless.
Yeah.
But I think it also comes down to being kind to yourself, being good to yourself. And if we are a little bit more, not level, I think that's a bad word, but I think if we find that balance a little bit better, and I think there's so much more expectation on people in a professional environment, like 9 to 5, that's not a thing. There are some careers that there are, but most careers, 9 to 5 isn't really a thing anymore. And I think because it's not a thing, it kind of became 9 till 5:30, 9 till 6, 8:30 till 6, and it just keeps creeping out, and then it's 7 days a week. And I feel like maybe if we continue to have a balance and remembering that balance, and, before here, I just did some exercise because I knew we were doing this and I've got a few more things to do. But I'm trying to make sure I'm bringing the balance to myself, because I can only dictate how I behave. And if I pay it forward and I give somebody that, that respect and that time and that nurturing, compassionate response to whatever it might be, then hopefully they'll pass it on to the next person. Did I tell you about my toilet paper incident?
No.
Okay. Weird intro to it, but
no, I like it. No, I like it. It's got me. I'm hooked.
There's my little hook. So when with this whole toilet paper, I think that was the other pandemic, right? The toilet paper.
Yeah.
And by the way, I think it was because Singapore and Hong Kong, right? They get their toilet paper in from China. So when they shut that off, Australia went, we're not going to get toilet paper, even though we actually make our own. We don't import toilet paper, so it was never going to be a thing, but that's irrelevant.
I heard that too.
So,
At first, because I wasn't paying attention to anything, I actually asked some people, I said, so does Corona give you a bad stomach or something? Is there an extra need for...
No, it's because Singapore and Hong Kong ran out of toilet paper because they imported from China. Anyway, but they... so I went to the supermarket and we were down to like no toilet paper in the house. We had like one roll left. And anyway, I happened to get to Aldi at a time that they unloaded toilet paper, right? And it was like this queue of people and security and all these people. And anyway, so they came in and they unloaded it and they happened to be standing there and they said, do you want your 2 packets of toilet paper? And I was like, okay, sure. We had my stepdaughter's there as well. So we had 6 people in the house. I was like, yep, I'll take 2 packets. That's fine. That'll do us for a good couple of months. Anyway, coming out of Aldi, as I was getting to my car, I had this 65, 70-year-old woman come up to me and she goes, so sorry, but where did you get your toilet paper from? And I said, Aldi. And she goes, okay, I'm going to go. And I said, I'm really sorry, but I think it's all gone. Have you got toilet paper? And she said, oh, my neighbours gave me some. And anyway, I'm out now, but I'm just using cloth. It'll be fine. It'll be fine if they're out. And I said, just have one of these packets of toilet paper. And she was like, oh, no, I couldn't do that to you. And I was like, it's toilet paper. You can take a packet of toilet paper. It's fine. Just take it out of my trolley. Go for it. And she was like, no, I'm not going to do that. That's absolutely fine. Don't worry. And I said, you don't have toilet paper. Like, in what world is this normal that in Melbourne it's a 65, 70-year-old woman saying it's totally acceptable that I don't have toilet paper? I said, just take a packet, it's fine. She goes, how much do you want? 10, 20, 30? I'll give you whatever. It's like, just take it. And when you go to the toilet, enjoy the experience for however long this packet lasts. When I have a packet of toilet paper, I'm good. And in that shop, I was that person. I live up in the Yarra Valley, so we've got one supermarket up here, and they were totally out of nappies and baby wipes and toilet paper. So when I got there and I realised that I went to Churnside Park to buy nappies, there were stacks of them. So I called all my friends with babies. What size? How many do you need? Do you need wipes? Because they didn't have a limitation on that, and we were totally sold out up here. And I had friends who had no baby wipes left. They had one nappy left, all that kind of stuff. So I stocked up. So my trolley was literally baby wipes, nappies, and toilet paper. So I looked like the hoarder. I wanted a little plaque at the front of my trolley going, for me. But this woman was completely blown away that I just gave her a packet of toilet paper. Like, it's toilet paper. But it's almost, for me, it was just paying it forward. It didn't have to go on social media. I didn't have to say, today I gifted somebody some toilet paper. It's like, no, you know what? Just don't worry about it. And I think if people can kind of go back to that mentality of, oh, you need help. Would you like me to do this? Do you want me to pick that up for you? I think that in turn, I'm hoping, has changed her view on all of this, and that it's made her feel a little bit better, and maybe she'll pay it forward to somebody else who, needed some Panadol. Like, I couldn't get kids Panadol. So it was a case of, I found a chemist that had Panadol. So again, I called my friend. Now there was a limit of one thing, Panadol, but both my children were sick. So I had tonsillitis with one kid, another one with a chest infection, no toilet paper, and no kids Panadol, which was a wonderful situation to be in.
Oh, yeah.
It was awful. But again, once that was done, I was like, cool, does anyone need any of these things? And whenever I go to the shops, I always call friends and say, do you need anything? Do you need, toilet paper? Do you want, like, if I can find it, what do you need? And it was, I think it's just doing things without expecting something in return. And I think we had almost become a bit of a society where if we didn't get something in return, well, we'd post it on Facebook so we could get some kind of congratulations. And it sort of lost the ability to just do something nice for somebody, because that's the right way to behave. And that's just what we should be doing as a, as a joint human. I mean, you go back to the bushfires, it was, let's help everybody. I had friends call me and say, we're getting on a plane, one-way ticket, and they just arrived and they stayed with us. And I said, stay as long as you like, doesn't matter. Like, just be safe. You've got young children, it doesn't matter. But then a lot of people are like, wow, but it's not something where we, you have to post it on Facebook and say, congratulations to us because we're doing something nice. And I think if we can go back to the old school ways where you just help out your neighbour, and the old, go next door and ask for a cup of sugar, or that, I think that a lot of that's kind of gone to a degree, and I'm hoping that that element stays even if it's just a little bit of an increase.
This is getting really quite deep, and I think some of the conversations need to go this deep, because what it has done, what I think this situation has done, as well as, you know, allowing us to see what we've been taking for granted and so on and so forth, it is absolutely exposed some of the really bad habits that society has gotten into, right? And what you mentioned there about doing things for the sake of popularity, for the sake of the like or the love or whatever, or in business, you know, the whole, you know, kissing the baby's head type thing that politicians used to do and still do. We haven't realized that we've been absolutely sucked into the same behaviors. You know, the kidding of people into thinking that, you know, we're this generous all the time. Yeah, here you go. And I think the authenticity around doing good stuff for people, it's something that I think's probably been lacking for quite some time. And you're right. You do see, and you know what? The thing that gets me, right, is I'll go do whatever it is. I'll help someone out with something or whatever. And, you know, it'll just be something that I'll just do, help, whatever, and then crack on with the rest of my day or week or whatever it is. But then, and this is sort of almost a bit of a reflection on me, in the fact that this whole thing has infiltrated my mind a little bit. I'll see someone else post something that is very similar or something like that, and they're getting all of this sort of, oh, you're the best, aren't you? Just such a fabulous human being, and blah 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 blah. And annoyingly for me, and I only feel it for a little bit, but then I'm like, fuck, I feel like shit. I've missed an opportunity. That's the first thing that pops. I'm like, damn, I missed. Why didn't I do that? And it's and you know, for people that do things, you know, good things for people on a regular basis, it's part of their DNA, it's part of who they are. That is what we need to protect, like really quite, you know, stoically, is the fact that doing the right thing is the right thing. It's not a case of doing the right thing because of. It's not doing the right thing in case it helps you to do whatever, right? It's doing the right thing without expectation of a return. That is something, and you're absolutely spot on. It's, you know, and that for me, that I will absolutely be reflecting on after this conversation is, why do I react? Why do my chemicals in my brain react that way, react in such a way that, you know what I mean?
We're conditioned to it. Like Facebook, yeah. You look at someone posts something and it's like, okay, so there's 15 likes on that photo, and then but there was only 2 likes on that one. That's weird. Why? I thought that, and you start to question your relevance. And I think it was a great move when, you know, on Instagram now you can't see how many people like things. That's a pretty big step for Instagram to have taken away a pretty big component of what they were doing, because you can't see how many people like it. And I think it's really important, because I think there was obviously an issue with it, and it was becoming, and I think particularly with the younger generations, you know, they've been taught to live through that social media. Steve Carroll uses a great example of, you know, someone in our parents' generation, they find out that someone's passed away in their family. So, you know, my father would pick up the phone and call them or go and see them or send them flowers, but they would have a conversation and connect. And then someone of ours, it might be, you know, a text message or, you know, whatever it might be, or a phone call, depending on who it is. And then the next generation down, it kind of goes more to the text message or an Instagram, maybe with some emojis, with some love hearts or something. But it's a different way of communicating, and I think it's a different way of relationships. Like, you go, I don't know about you, but I remember as a kid going, man, I'm so cool. I got 35 Easter eggs this Easter. Like, it was all about how many Easter eggs you got, right? How many candy canes you got to give out. Do you remember that at school? Like, you had to count and go,
like, got to get more. The one for me was so back in primary school, if anyone went on holiday, they'd always come back, because we were a really small school. Like, we had 18 kids in the whole year group, right? So yeah. So if anybody went away on holiday, it was the thing that they would come back with, like, lollies or prezzies for the rest of the class, little holiday presents. And and I remember so vividly, like, there was I used to get these. It was like a string of individually wrapped lollies from Spain, because Spain are like the dons of lollies, by the way. And these just like these long strings of individually wrapped sweets that I used to hand out to. And then there was like 2 or 3 of the ones I really liked and whatnot, that might get a little bit more than the others. And that was the social barometer at primary school. It was, are you going to get one of the bog standard little hard-boiled sweets? Or are you going to get a little bit more? And if you do, does that put you on the popular table or whatever? And it's true.
I remember looking at my parents going, they've only got a few friends. Like, how am I cool and they're so daggy? And I remember being like really judgy of my parents for, they had their friends, but their friends they did everything with. We were really close. We grew up together. We'd do dinners down at the pub. They give us $1 for the pokies, because that was allowed back then. But it was, it was a different way of creating relationships. It was about a much more in-depth relationship. And I remember thinking as a kid how weird that was. But then I wonder if I would have thought that if social media was a thing, because then they would have probably connected with some friends of theirs from school, and they would have had these, like, I don't know how many people I'm friends with on Facebook. And, there are some people on Facebook that I haven't spoken to in years. And there's people like that I went to school with that were really good friends, and I loved their posts, because I'm like, how cool is that they're doing really well, they've got gorgeous lives, friends, jobs, whatever. Do they really? I don't know, because it's social media, so they're not going to sit there and go, yeah, my life is crap. It's always, 57 selfies. Like, I don't know if you've tried to post photos with your kids, but it's very rare that you have both children in the same photo, because one of them is either like up their nose, one's on the side going, you can't get both kids happy at the same time. So you tend to do like one at a time, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But I think, the relationships, the dynamic of relationships have changed fundamentally. The way that we communicate has changed. And every now and then I'll sit down, I again do a lot of kilometers. So I try really hard to regularly, when I jump in the car, to go, who haven't I spoken to? And I'll randomly call my friends. So if any of my friends are watching this and they randomly get a call at, some ungodly hour in the morning or the end of the day, it's because I'm in the car and I'm thinking about who I haven't spoken to. But, the number of friends and the number of people that are in your life, I think over time it reduces and you get closer and closer. But there's this like digital friendship that's created that we do seek other people's approval, which is why it doesn't surprise me that when someone does something nice, it's like, that whole, if I go to the gym and I don't put it on Facebook, did it actually happen? And it's like relationships, it's not official till it's on Facebook. Yeah, it's,
absolutely.
But it's not really a reflection of how relationships should be. Relationships should be about, our relationship. We get along really well, pick up the phone, have a chat, have a coffee. I stand you up a bit, sorry. I think I stood you up just before you went overseas. But I think it's just about, I did, sorry. But I think it's, it's about actually having real relationships, being genuine with the people. And I think if everyone kind of comes back to that, even if it's like a 10th of the way back, I don't think we're going to go to the full hog, but I think if there's a slight shift back to that, then, hopefully it has a positive impact long term.
I think this is the lesson that this show has taught me is, like, when you talk about no, all good. Talking about a self-expectation and whatnot, having that expectation of myself to change the world, guys, right? And that's, I've always, for some reason, you have it in your head that, or I've had it in my head that if I don't impact people en masse and I get this mass reaction that helps like 1 million people, then I struggle to see the validity in doing it. What this show has taught me massively, it really has allowed it to sink in, is it's all good if I do something and it helps one person. You know, if I change the trajectory of that one person's life, you know, the whole sliding doors moment where instead of going down a real bad path, they go down a really good path, or whatever. Then it's kind of weird because that deeper impact is worth so much more than the superficial impact of society, of you know, the approval of society en masse. And when you talk about you know, having some less relationships, but more meaningful relationships, I think that there's going to be a bit of a shift maybe in terms of how people treat their clients. So, you know, people are talking about volume of GCI, or, you know, amount of database and what have you, you know, number of people on your database and blah, 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 blah. I think hopefully what this might do is allow people to understand that having 200 potential vendors on your database that are highly engaged, highly connected, you know, there is that deeper connection above you know, above and beyond that skin deep stuff. It's way more powerful and way better and way stronger for you. Not, I mean, you know, financially, hopefully, but definitely in terms of your own peace of mind, your mental health and well-being, your standards in terms of how you deliver whatever it is that you're delivering is so much better than having 2,000 people on your database that you touch base with once in a blue moon. You know, the level of concentration that people will apply to things. I think because conversation, and I asked this question without notice to Bernard yesterday, and thankfully I was right. His conversation, the time that it's taking for him to have a conversation with people is way longer now. Like, you know, people are absolutely wanting, not needing, but wanting that little bit more time with you. And so therefore, it's got to shift away from the transactional, because people just simply aren't going to have enough time to cater for the volume of people and the volume of transactions that they were catering for prior to this.
Sorry.
Just let them in.
I lost the battle.
Let them in.
She's here.
Let them in. Hello.
Can you say hello, Andy?
Hi, Andy.
Hi, yeah. How are you? What?
You can.
I'm Alessia.
I know,
I'm Alicia.
Alicia. I've heard plenty about you, Alicia. I've heard plenty about you. Are you enjoying having mummy at home more?
You're not listening. What did you just ask you?
Hey, Alicia,
Are you
are you enjoying having mummy at home?
Mia's not here.
No, me. Do you like having me at home?
Yes, I like Mama stay. I like Mama being here.
Yeah. What games do you like playing?
Horses?
Horses. Isn't that funny? That's exactly what your mum was saying. That's her favourite game too.
We were playing horses last night, weren't we? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you like?
Please wait till
Later. You go and help Papa. He needs your help.
Hey, Alicia, I will only have your mum for another few minutes, I promise.
I know, but you got to be quiet. You can sit here if you're quiet. There you go.
And you know what, guys? Like, this is exactly why this Silver Lining show exists. It's because I wanted to have real conversations with real people in real time, and that's why it's live. And that's, you know, this picture here, gang. If you learn nothing from any other show, this is the picture that you need to learn from. At the end of the day, life and work can coexist. your stuff and life can coexist. You don't have to compartmentalize various elements of your life because that's what society told you to do, right? And I reckon this is it. This is exactly the crux of the whole thing. Having Alicia be here in a gorgeous little Minnie Mouse top, and being a part of the show and completely stealing the limelight away from her mom. This is exactly it. This is it. That picture, guys. My job here is done. And I'm hoping. Yeah. Look, at the end of the day, why do we have to talk about work-life balance? Why do we have to have the word balance? Work is a part of life. It is not work on exactly.
Stop.
Not a case of work and life. Life is this. Life is everything. Work is only a part of your life. It's not. You should never have to balance work and life as if the two things actually, as important as each other. At the end of the day, life, Alicia, is a part of life. As much as this interview is a part of Charlotte's life, and why shouldn't they be able to coexist? What? Hey, Alicia. Alicia.
Do you watch Bluey?
Yeah. Oh, Bluey's amazing.
Sean's back. Welcome to my life. Have you not seen the Sean's back one?
No.
Oh, it will change your life. Change mine. Randomly, Sean's back. So when you're doing this, she's saying that you're being Sean.
Ah, there you go.
Watch Bluey, Sean's back. Sean.
I've been trying to educate parents over here, mates that are parents over here, into how good Bluey is.
It's hilarious, but it's very Australian. Hey, can you please be quiet? No, this is Andy's show.
Okay, please can I watch Blue?
Yes, in 2 minutes. If you hop out, then in 2 minutes you can. I'll come out. Yeah, but Blue is very Australian. Blue is very, yes, thank you. Blue is very Australian humour. I reckon it's a bunch of dads, sorry, totally digressing from the silver lining. It is totally a bunch of dads sitting around having a beer talking about their life as a dad. And then they write an episode about what happened in their life.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I just love it. I love the fact that he's got kids hanging off him and he's trying to watch the cricket and all this. And it's totally.
Have you seen the one where he's texting on the toilet?
Yeah, amazing. 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 That is actually what happens, gang. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. Dad sometimes does, that is our sanctuary. It is the place where once upon a time we treated it as our hideaway from the world. And then the 1-year-old can all of a sudden reach the door handle and open it up and all the rest of it. So, I love that show. Guys, watch Blue. If you want to know what real life is like,
if you don't have kids, watch Bluey. Don't worry about silver lining. Don't worry about being a better person.
If you're thinking about if you're thinking about having kids, watch that show to see what it's actually like. And you'll understand that we as dads, we are inherently useless. You'll understand that. You'll understand that mums do generally come and save the day, even though they get painted as the authoritarian of the household. They are generally the ones that actually hold the whole thing together. But I love that show. I think that show's wicked. It's just such a good reflection.
That's what this was doing, and it will make sense.
Amazing.
When you're doing your things. That's what was going on. Sorry.
Look, it was when Eliza told me to put my finger in the hole. I'm like, where the hell is this going? And it's to close, wiggle it around, close it. Yeah, thank you for cleaning my toilet. And that actually made me feel ill. I was like, oh God, what's on my finger?
Even though it went in your hand, it's still disgusting.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh man, this is look, this show, I think this episode is probably the best episode of the show so far by a mile, purely because it is literally just in a nutshell, got us talking about Bluey, which is pretty much sums the whole thing up. Like, I hate the word
You know what?
balance.
Bluey is a perfect example of being present with your children, because that father is the most present father because he's present in the moment. And I think that's, if I take anything away from this entire coronavirus experience, is that you need to be present in what you're doing. And no one can multitask. Clearly, I can't have a quality conversation and parent what's currently staring at me. But you can't do both things properly. So pick what's important, find your big thing that's going to keep you going, be it family, be it whatever. But it is, it goes back to, I think we've all remembered that I know it's such an old saying, but it's so true, that you've got to work to live. You don't live to work. And I think hopefully being back at home and reconnecting with families, reconnecting with clients, having those human relationships, if a little bit of that stays, then I think every family will be a little bit better. I think every kid will get a little bit more love, maybe a little bit less, technology to babysit them.
And look, and I think exactly right. I mean, I'm guilty of it regularly when, we're doing something with Eliza, and just far out last night, where Eliza and I are trying to coordinate Project Mother's Day, because I'm not going to be able to be home for Mother's Day, and and I've had stuff delivered to the house with Eliza's name on it, so that only Eliza gets to open it and all that sort of jazz. And I was trying to help her, talk her through wrapping a present, right? I was trying to help her talk her through wrapping a present.
Awesome. Online.
Yeah, but the problem was, then I also find myself getting distracted because I've joined, and this, and again, I was being selfish really, because Justin Nickerson, Apollo Auctions, they've launched a T20 style online auction comp that's starting next week, and the draw for that was taking place at the same time. And she was doing stuff, and she was asking me something, and I said to her, "Hold on 2 seconds, darling," because my name got pulled out of the draw, and I was watching that as opposed to keeping connected with her. And after I put down both the conversation and that, I sat down and obviously it was like 1 a.m. or whatever it was, and I was like, Andy, that was shit. That was shit behavior as a dad. That made her feel like she was not the most important person. And that is bad dadding. That is rubbish. So we've got to, and I'm glad that I'm aware of it, and I'm glad that it was at the time it was during the night, because otherwise I'd have just had something else to do. But because I had nothing else to do, it was just, it was a really, really good lesson for me to learn just last night. And gang, please stop talking about work-life balance. Just make work be a part of your life. Don't let it dominate it. Make sure that your behaviors and your actions and your good deeds are just that. They are good deeds, and they're not there for likes. They're not there for the next piece of the next listing or the next job or whatever the case may be. They're there, but they exist because that's just what you should be doing as a human being.
I think particularly now, Phil Harris was saying it. Now's not the time to be a realist for us. Now's not the time to be a real estate agent. I thought that was really true. It's just about trying to be a person in your community, helping out where you can. And you know what? It's pretty amazing that right now, for real estate agents particularly, based on the scenario that we're living in, that their home is the only safe place that they can be, and all of the things that are going on with the economy and with families and with health and with jobs, if someone's asking you to help them get to a better place, I think it's more of an honour now than it ever has been, just with the weight of what's behind that decision. It's an even harder decision, I think, for a lot of people to be making.
100%. And we need to make sure that we never lose sight of that either. I was chatting to a real estate team a couple of nights ago, and they were obviously, as most real estate firms right now, they're struggling for stock. All they were talking about was should we do an incentive? Should we discount this? Should we do that? Should we offer free this and so on and so forth? I mean, guys, you need to stop that conversation right now, because all you're doing is thinking like a real estate agent. Why don't you try and think like a human being, understand what is actually at play here, and instead of trying to line pockets and you know, I get that we've all got pressure, but instead of doing that, why don't we just try and make actual connections with people and say to them, look, I understand that you're probably up a height with your kids. How about a drop off, you know, a couple of coffees, or you know, a couple of colouring pens, and whatever. You know, how about going to the cafe and putting $100 behind the cafe and acting like delivery boy, saying, look, I know that you're in the poo as a cafe. How about I try and help you, and in the process help other people as well. Right?
I think it's again paying it forward, helping out your local businesses, being a person, being part of the community, connecting with people. Because at the end of the day, right now, we're not connecting with people on a physical space. It takes that whole dirty dancing thing, that this is my dancing space and this is your dancing space. That's like out the window. Now this is my kilometre radius. Don't come near me. And I think, we as humans, inherently, we want to connect on a physical level. We want to have that human interaction. We want to sit down and have a coffee. We want to have that. So we're all feeling that distance. So I think if you're having a human conversation with somebody and you're not calling them up going, hi, am I going to tell you blah, blah, blah. And I think the thing is, I asked this morning in our directors meeting, how's everyone going? Went around a couple of different areas. And it's interesting because you get some agents who go, oh, no, it's really good. We're still getting the same stock. We just don't have buyers. And some people are saying, we don't have stock, but we've got buyers, or whatever it might be. And I think every area across Victoria, across Australia, across, the world, but, in terms of the property market, I think it's going to be really interesting. They're talking about people wanting to make tree changes and sea changes and get further out. You've got Adrian Sacco in the video I did the other day who said his buyers, their requirements have changed overnight because people are reassessing what's important. And I think if we assess what's important, that's great, but knowing and not doing is not knowing. So you've either got to do something with that information, or it's, all of this, like the way I look at it, all of these deaths that have happened. My husband's from right next to the epicenter in Italy. People are dying. It's horrendous. The situation globally is awful. The economy, everything that's happening, people are losing their jobs, people losing maybe not losing their homes thanks to Scott Morrison, but, there's a huge amount that's going on, the pressure, the psychology, all of this. If it's all for nothing, what's the point, right? Like, this is our chance to really assess everything that's important and make decisions, but commit to those decisions. Because saying, oh, I'm going to be better and I'm going to do these things and, it's a New Year's resolution. Otherwise, I'm going to change, and then you're going to go back to what it was. Well, might as well be the last year, or it might as well be the 5th of December, not the 1st of January. So you've got to make a decision and stick to it, commit to it, and make it worthwhile. Otherwise, as I said, all of this is for nothing. It's just wiping out people's families and friends and an economy that,
100%. Look, I'm going to let you crack on with your daughter. She has been incredibly patient and what have you, and she needs her mum now. So I'm gonna leave you to your gorgeous family. Thank you so much for coming on again. You're just a unit. Like, I love chatting to you. I'll always love chatting to you. And I think, guys, please, just, if nothing else, just have that picture of Alicia in your head, sitting on her mum's lap, and seeing Charlotte have life. And then this conversation was literally just a very, very small part of her life. And that's how everybody needs to be moving forward. Charlotte, thank you so much. You're awesome.
You're awesome too. I love what you're doing, Andy. You're doing great things. You're a good person. And I'm sorry that you're away from your family, and happy Mother's Day to Felicity if she sees this. Send her my love.
All right. You take care, all right?
I will. You too. Stay safe.
Bye.
Bye.